All right, welcome back. I don't know what's going on. This thing is has a mind of its own. This technology, it's fascinating the way this stuff works. We're so smart. We're so smart, and yet we're not. You know, we don't really know as much as we think we do. We're not as often as blessed as we think we are. I think that's where I left off talking about blessings and burdens. I was dealing with a bunch of folks who thought it was a punishment for me to have to be in their presence. What's that say about them? If being around someone is a punishment or a detriment, what's that say about them? But if it's a blessing unto them for me to be around them, to do all the work and to do what's necessary, if that's the case, then I'm a blessing. And if I'm a blessing, what's that say about me? You know, there's a lot of anarchy and crazy mess going on in the little season community. I say anarchy and chaos and all that, and that's if you're keeping up with the drama of everybody and what's going on and all that. It's weird because we're supposed to be set apart. We're supposed to be so very different than everybody else. We're not supposed to be worried about the things everyone else is worried about. We're not supposed to be worried about having to who's on my side, who's not on my side, who's my friend, who's not my friend, who's my teammate, who's not my teammate. We're not supposed to be worried about all that. We're not supposed to be in competition with one another. I'm here to talk about the truth. And if you want to hear about the truth, then stick around, because that's all I'm going to talk about is the truth. I'm the Rev, and this is Truth Unfiltered. And you have with you today a new thing we're starting here. And we're calling it Rev Unfiltered. I'm going to try to go live as often as I can go live. And if you've noticed, there's been a few changes to Truth Unfiltered. The way my setup is here, the way my camera is, I have to get used to looking at a different point of view. I've kind of got this thing set up pretty nice. It seems to be working. I don't know if I need to move it or mess with it. To see if I move it and mess with it, it seems to want to act up. So I'm just going to leave it alone, let it be still. Well, we continue on. I want to welcome Brother Mad Pax for coming back and hanging out with us and being patient with me while I'm dealing with my technical difficulties here. We got Miss Linda Smedley in the house with us this evening, and of course Miss beautiful and wonderful Miss Nancy Saved by Jesus. You guys are a blessing to this community. We got Brother Jesus is Lord 70 AD, Brother Ryan. He says midnight watchers, welcome in, Garrow. That's Brother Garrow there at midnight, Midwest Night Watchers. What a blessing to have all of you guys here. You guys are amazing. This whole community is full of wonderful people. I hear about this person, I hear about that person, and this person said this person, and I think, what are y'all worried about? What are y'all talking about? Why is there any drama? Like, what's the beef? What's the deal? In the little season, we're 0.01% of society. We're all of one people out of a billion people. We're a little bitty unit in the army of righteousness, the soldiers of truth, the purveyors of doing what's right. We're the smallest community in the world, yet we're doing exactly what I said would happen. I told you guys months ago that this was happening. The community was dividing and splitting up and causing divisions and little factions here and there, just kind of spreading out. doing their thing. It's really strange because it doesn't make sense that people are at each other's throats here and there within the community, within the content creator space, within the chat communities. It's weird because we're supposed to be different. We're supposed to be better than that. So I don't want to dwell on all that. I don't want to even bring it up. I don't even want to talk about it. I just want to move past that. That doesn't make any sense. The going back and forth. There are better ways to handle things than what we're doing. But yet, I'm no one's judge. I'm no one's master, ruler. I'm not here to tell somebody else how to live. Good evening, Brother Donut. Good evening, Brother Phil. AZ Kurt. Miss Linda Smedley says, hi, people coming in. Brother D. Russ says, who is beefing? I don't know. I don't know who's beefing. I don't talk to anybody that I beef with. It's strange. I think there are people that have beef, though, that have made it up in their minds how things are and how they want things to be for themselves, so to speak. People have come to these wild conclusions. I can't get this thing to do right. It's supposed to look at me when I do this, but it's not. We'll just leave it like that. We just won't mess with it. The system doesn't want me to do the things I want to do. Sometimes it's good not to do the things you want to do, you know? But right now, I want that camera to move around and follow me around a little bit. It's not doing what I want it to do exactly, but it's fine. It's probably better this way that I leave it alone. Probably make some people nauseous if that camera moving around so much. So I'm going to try to keep that camera still. Just kind of keep things as they are, simple. There's no need for all these flashy things, but yeah, it's weird. In this community, we're supposed to be the purveyors of love. Everything comes out of our mouth should be filtered in love and not hate, not in discontent, and not in arrogance and greed and pride. Pride. That's a huge problem for most people. Pride. It's a shame because people don't realize sometimes that their pride comes from their desire for acceptance, their desire to be connected and stay connected to this world. This world is a place that we live in whether we want to be here or not. You know, none of you guys or gals woke up today or however many years ago and said, you know, I think I want to live here and just be alive, and boom, you existed. It just never worked like that. You didn't ask to be here. I didn't ask to be here. But what we do when we get here, that is all on us. Everything we do is on us, whether we like that or not, whether we understand that or not, whether we accept that or not. Brother Ryan says, after watching Josh Monday debate a bunch of atheists, it really puts it into perspective how petty it is. There are real people in the world that are so lost. That's right. I heard about that. I haven't had a chance to watch it. Someone's got to share with me that link somewhere. I might have to find it. I heard about that, and I've been meaning to go back and watch that. Wish these guys would let old brother Rev know when that stuff is going on, when it's live and happening in the moment. I would have liked to have been there. give Brother Josh Monday support. I heard it was bad. I heard it was bad. The way those fellas attacked Josh Monday and his host or guest, it was bad. The world is lost because everybody believes in the lies that they've been taught. They've learned to accept it, the things that don't make any sense. They've learned to accept the things that are not good for them. They've learned to accept the things that are meant to keep them away from God and keep them distracted. All those eras of thought and motive, they all lead to the same places. They all lead to these areas of thought that are designed to promote a system that is designed to hold you back. A system that is designed to ultimately take over your mind and your heart and your soul. Who's Josh? Brother AZ Kurt, Josh is Josh Monday. He does a Bible study, and it's a really good one. And it's a shame that more people don't listen to his Bible studies. But he's a good brother in Christ. He's a brother in Christ. He's another soldier on the battlefield. And yet he's in a different unit than us. We're in the little season unit, so to speak. And he would be in the other units of Christian faith, where he believes in Jesus and loves Jesus and understands that his limitations on what he knows and doesn't know. He's just in another unit. But we serve the same God. We serve the same Christ. And we have the same love for our brother. That's what I love about Brother Josh over there, Josh Monday. But yeah, Josh Monday. He said, go to Josh Monday's post. It's in there. It needed Christians in there, but I also felt like I needed a shower after. Lots of profanity. Had to shut it off. Yeah, it's terrible. Man, it's so terrible how these how people who are unbelievers, how they are. The problem is we have problems with believers as well. You know, we have people that love Jesus. They love Jesus, and yet they love themselves just a little bit more. Just enough. They love themselves just enough to stay grounded and chained to this world. Bound to the restrictions of what they tell you you should do and shouldn't do, and how you should and shouldn't be, how you should act. People say things like, don't act a fool. Well, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for not acting a fool. The reason they say those words, because when you act a certain way, you're perceived a certain way. And if you act a fool, you'll be treated a fool. Calling people out and blasting other folks and challenging authority and this and that. All those are worldly measures, worldly gains. That has nothing to do with me. That has nothing to do with this channel. That has nothing to do with the growth of this community. What that has to do with is a select handful of people that are trying to find their own way. I don't understand what the issue is with people traveling around the country, visiting their friends and family and hanging out with each other and talking about it. I don't see how that's... I don't understand. I don't see the problem here, is all I'm saying. Like, I don't understand the beef. I don't understand the gripe. I don't understand the hate. It doesn't make no sense. This person's doing this. This person's doing that. Who cares? Let them cry. Let them whine. They can cry and they can whine all they want. Or they can be like this fella. Let's see if I can get this thing to work right. Something is going on here. Where is my chat? Let me pull this chat out right here. I lost y'all for a second. I'm gonna fix this though. I forgot I moved some things around. Like I said, we're doing things a little different around here. If we can help it. There we go. Welcome back, chat. Welcome back, Brother Chris T. He says round 2. Brother Cody says, I guess they're all talking about how you doing. And Cody said, not too bad. Chris T, how about you? Brother Mad Pack's in the house. I'm going to call you later. I got to talk with you about some stuff. Let's see if I can pull this up now. Is that the one? Not the one. That's the one. Boom. 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 Dang, this thing is not working right. All right, let's see. Let me fix this setting here. Audio. I don't know why it did that. Thing is acting weird. All right, boom. No sound, he said. Okay. I'm having technical difficulties. Episode 2 won't be this way. I promise you that. But all right, let's start this back over.
About regime change in Venezuela. And this one is, it's sort of a difficult issue for me. And I'll tell you why. I talked a little bit about this the last time we covered Venezuela. There is a big difference between what we would say being a non-interventionist, an isolationist, being anti-war, and opposing the wars that we have been in for the past 25 years. And what do I mean by that? We went to war in Iraq under a false pretense, and that has defined our political order for 20 years. It was a unilateral war against the Security Council, very hypocritical in a sense if we're trying to promote these international institutions and security cooperation and these things. It's this unilateral war. We're abusing the pretext, which is against WMDs, which they didn't even have. Of course, the driving power behind that war was the Israel lobby. And the war goes on for 20 years because of mission creep, because the Israelis wanted us there, because there was this idea that maybe we would be launching invasions against other countries like Syria or Iran. And it became this never-ending counterinsurgency, the purpose of which we didn't even know what it was anymore. Democracy promotion, defending Israel's interests, undermining other countries in the region. And so there's very good reasons to oppose that war. Or, similarly, the never-ending war in Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, it started out that we were there to undermine the Taliban and hunt down Osama bin Laden. And within 10 years, without even missing a beat, without skipping a beat, they said, now it's about women voting in elections in Afghanistan. Okay. So very similar there, as well as all the other interventions. And there's a variety of reasons that you might be against the global war on terror, the war in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq. That is altogether different. Not completely different, but it is independent from being ideologically against war in itself, being ideologically against interventions in general, or being an isolationist, which is being against hostile interventions, but also against international cooperation. And I have always said on my show, my foreign policy view is that we should be America first, not isolationist, not even non-interventionist, and I'm not anti-war. I believe that intervention, and sometimes up to and including war, is a necessary tool. I don't think that that should be the first resort, and I don't think that we should overextend ourselves and our commitments to allies or our efforts to undermine adversaries, but I do believe that interventions are actually frequently necessary, and I think that sometimes war becomes necessary.
Yeah. The wild thing is that he's right. He's right about a lot of things he's talking about. This is Nick Fuentes. I don't know if you guys in our community pay attention or follow people like Nick Fuentes or Charlie Kirk or the Hodge twins, I guess. You know, you got Jason Knowles and Tucker Carlson and all those political figures, right? The Ben Shapiros of the world. These are our adversaries. These are the people that we're supposed to be worrying about, you know, dealing with. Not each other, not in our community, not in the Little Season community. But the problem is, there's people in our community, in the Little Season, that's also not in the Little Season community. There's people around us all the time, and they listen to people like Nick Fuentes. They say he's like the Gen Z right wing face of the Gen Z movement or whatever. It's that political nonsense is all that boils down to, that stimulant that keeps that part of the system alive. These hosts in these TV shows, these Candace Owens and Ian Carrolls, they're YouTubers and celebrity hosts, and they talk about politics, they talk about the world. Nick Fuentes is talking about the same things that most of us have been hearing about forever. War in the Middle East. When is there going to be peace in the Middle East? And there's never going to be peace in the Middle East. That's what people don't seem to understand. There's never going to be peace in a world that is divided. There's never going to be peace in a world that is separated by beliefs. There's never going to be peace in the Middle East, not until Jesus. But then therein lies the problem, doesn't it? Because it doesn't matter what we believe about Jesus in our community. It doesn't matter what we believe about Jesus in our community. What matters is how we are and how we show people that belief. We're not worried about politics in the same way that Nick Fuentes is worried about politics, not in our community. We're not worried about politics. We're not worried about Donald Trump. We're not worried about Venezuela. Good Lord, y'all even know what's going on in Venezuela? Do y'all even understand how damaging the world is, and how the system is, and how awful it is all over the world? And here we are in America, one of the greatest countries in the world, complaining about each other, complaining about this problem or that problem, or who has this and who has that, who's doing this and who did that, and who did it first and who did it best. Where we're competing with one another because we're all divided, and we're all divided in America, but not because of Nick Fuentes. He has nothing to do with this. He didn't divide the world. He didn't create the banking structure and the system that we live in, and he didn't do any of it. He just did what any other young person does. He goes to school, graduates from school, goes to college, graduates from college, decides what he wants to do with his life, and then starts talking about politics because he understands politics. He knows politics. He's been paying attention to politics his whole life. He's been grounded in this one field of study, a thing that has allowed him to suffer through day and night, learning about politics, learning about world regimes, learning about the ins and outs of right and wrong when it comes to how we're governed and how we're supposed to structure our lives. Nick Fuentes is just a victim of deception, the same as everybody else. I'm no different than any of you when it comes to being deceived. I've been deceived just as many. The difference is, what do you do within that layer of deception? And what you do matters. It matters because what you do is what gets you out of the fog. It's what allows you to open your eyes and wake up. Bless his brother Ad B. Good to see you. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Brother Trey, Brother Dojo. Good to see you, my brother. What a blessing. This community is always a blessing. You guys are an amazing group of people. Y'all need to hear that because it's the truth. And I wouldn't say it if it wasn't the truth. There are a lot of people that listen to people like Nick Fuentes. Hundreds of millions of people listen to him, talk about him. There are people all over the world talking about all these other types of people, like Andrew Tate and Tucker Carlson. Good evening, Brother Chakma. Good to see you. Adby says, I was going to record a video, but thanks for giving me a reason to procrastinate. I hear you there. I appreciate that. Miss Dana says, can't hear him, Rev. Oh yeah. So if you couldn't hear him before, you could probably hear him now. I don't have him. You don't hear him at this very moment because I've got him paused. But Brother Jason, what's up, Jason? Good to see you. Brother Jason, he's fighting his own battles. We're all fighting battles. We're all out here fighting these battles, and some of us are fighting them alone, even though we think we have people with us. We are surrounding ourselves with people who are still letting us fight all these battles alone. This poor fella. Bless him. Pray for him, Nick Fuentes. He's not saying anything that's wrong necessarily. It's just the things that he's talking about are worldly endeavors. There are things that his community and his audience and the people that he listens to and follow, they need to hear what he's saying because he's talking about real stuff. We're over here worried about where we're going to work tomorrow They have people on the other side of the world worrying about if they're even going to be alive tomorrow, fighting a battle that comes down to the stupidity and ignorance of their knowledge and understanding. You have real people in this world that would do things to you that you would never dream about doing to someone else, and yet those people are in power. Those people run the world. They're in power and they run the world because they know a thing or two, and they know a lot more things and a lot more twos than you and me. They know more than us because they've built the system that we live in, based around limiting us to knowledge of certain things. I think it's wildly ignorant and stupid to just ignore the fact that there were people living hundreds of years before the flood, and to think that somehow we're more advanced than they were back then, that we know better, that we're better behaved, and we're more righteous and more right in everything we do. Good afternoon, Ms. Mary Beth D'Angelo. Says, hi, Rev. Hi, everyone. But it's a shame because people act like that past didn't happen because they don't know about it. They're not taught about it in school. And all the years of education that Brother Nick Fuentes and other people like him, I say brother, I don't even know if he's my brother. I don't know him. But he don't know me either. I don't think he'd call me his brother. But people like him, they go to school, they learn a thing or two, just like you and me. They get educated on right and wrong, like you and me. They get told about who they are and where they come from. Those people over there in Israel are fighting a war that has nothing to do with them. They're fighting a war that has nothing to do with their own selves. What they're fighting over is greed, power, and the lust for control over the minds and men's of the men and women who live around them. They want to keep us contained and keep us idle, stupid, and docile. They don't want us talking. They don't want us coming together. They don't want us loving each other. They don't want us being there for each other. The world and its systems only wants that for themselves. Every person in it only wants what I just said for themselves. We're different. Our community's different. We're supposed to be different anyways. We're not supposed to be worried about all those little problems that everybody else seems to be worried about. But if you don't know what's going on in Israel today, if you don't know what's going on the other side of the world, and if you don't know what's going on in Venezuela and other parts, then nothing that's going to happen over the next few years is going to make any sense to you. It's all going to continue to be a burden. It's all going to continue to be a problem. If you don't know what's going on and what they're thinking, what Nick Fuentes is saying may not be of the Lord. It may not be good. And it may not be something you want to hear. But what Nick Fuentes is saying is things, and he's talking about things that apply to you and me. And what I mean by how they apply to you and me, he's talking about the world and the people in it. And the people in it, he's telling you what they want to do and what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. He's not the only one. You have other people. But everybody has their own agendas. Every one of them. Nick Fuentes is doing what he wants to do, which is what he's doing in this video right now. No different than what I'm doing, what I want to do, which is be on this video right now. The difference is why we're here. Nick Fuentes is here to serve himself, the same as everyone else that you would see on YouTube or on CNN or on the news or any of that. They're here to serve themselves. That's their only goal. However, in the service to themselves, they don't want themselves to be suffering. So they're going to talk about the things that bother them, that are not good for them. And if those things aren't good for them and themselves, then they're not good for you. They're not good for me. It's important that we keep up with the world's agendas and the world's nuances. Even though we're not a part of them, we still need to know what they're talking about. We still need to know what their goals and agendas are, because that shapes our future. It's like, how do I make the next move without knowing where to go or what I'm supposed to do, or how I'm going to pay the bills, or how I'm going to make money? How am I supposed to make the next move without you telling me what you're going to do next? How are we as a society supposed to move forward without knowing what's going to happen next? In the Little Caesars community, where most of us are okay with not knowing, we're okay with it because we know what happens next well enough. We know that there's going to be a war, and it's not going to be just a little old war fought over there in the Middle East where we sit over here and send our young boys and girls off to battle. We know there's going to be a major war. We know that Jesus is going to return, and we know that when he does, that it's going to be over for all the ones that decided to start that war. But how are we going to get to that? What's going to lead us to that war? My cordless mic, I got it unplugged right now. I'm trying to simplify this setup I got going on, Brother Jason, because without that, with me trying to move things around, it's not seeming to work right. I don't really know what's going on with everything over here. I have. Ed B says, after the whole Saints video with JT and Paul, I got attacked at a level I haven't been in a very long time. Little Season community as infiltrators, just like every other movement, sowing division. That's right. We're not supposed to be divided. They're the ones that are divided. Nick Fuentes is divided. He's on the right. We're not on the right. We're not on the left either. We're not in the middle. We're outside of it all. But while we're outside of it, we have to learn how to live within it. And by learning, the way to learn is to pay attention to the ones that are living in it. Nick Fuentes is living in the world. He's talking about Israel and how they're over there trying to genocide a whole group of people because they don't want them there. They want the land that they're on, and those people aren't wanted anywhere else because of who they believe in and what their faith is like. All of this has to do with their lack of knowledge. People don't know when in time they are. They don't know about the Jesus that you and I in the Little Caesar community should be knowing about. And I say should be. We're supposed to be like the one we know about. We're supposed to be like Jesus. We're supposed to sound like Jesus, talk like Jesus. We're supposed to look like Jesus. We're supposed to be, everything about us is supposed to be the embodiment of what Jesus would be if he were here among us. We're supposed to be representatives of the faith, not sowers of division and hate. Let that be the rest of the world. I want to finish this video, a little bit of it anyway, so let's continue on.
I think that it's preferable to use economic tools and use our international institutions as a forum to mediate disputes and decrease the risk of miscalculations or unnecessary conflicts, things of that nature. But I'm not like a libertarian. I'm not a libertarian that says I hate war. I don't believe we should intervene overseas. There's something in principle wrong with these things. And the reason being is because we are the most powerful nation in the world. We have the biggest Navy. We have the biggest Air Force. We have the biggest, most powerful economy and military. And we should use the military to benefit Americans. We should use the military not to change the way the world is, not to police the world, but we should use the military to secure benefits, tangible benefits for Americans. And what would those things be? Resources. We should secure access to resources that we cannot get or that make us richer, and we should secure the supply chains that deliver them. The other reason we should use the military is for, of course, defending the homeland. And to me, that comes in two distinct forms, which is our immediate periphery, which is the Western Hemisphere, the Caribbean.
You know, it's interesting how he calls America the homeland. Y'all ever notice that? Y'all notice that? He's calling America the homeland. He's talking about this war, this inevitable war. He's talking about how we should be focused on us over here, but that's not exactly right either. You know, America first, it sounds good if you're an American, right? But what if you're not American? What's that got to do with me? If I'm not an American, what does America first have to do with me? What does this have to do with us? What does this have to do with our community? Well, it doesn't, but it has to do with everyone else. And because it has to do with everyone else, we really need to know what they're talking about. We need to know what they're saying.
The north and south border, but also the proliferation of nuclear weapons, because if there's a nuclear war, that's not good for anybody. So this is kind of generally where I'm at. And I say that to preface because this is why it's difficult.
First of all, I want to be clear. It's not going to be a nuclear war. I mean, if it is, we're all dead. And so what are we worried about? If there's a nuclear war, we're all dead. Everybody goes to war. If one person shoots nukes, we all will be shooting nukes. But they're not going to destroy the whole world. I mean, the people that run things, they need us. They need us to survive. They need regular people to live. The people that run the world, the elites, the crazies, the Donald Trumps, the Elon Musk, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the royal families and all these people in society, they need regular people. They need servants, because without us, they have to do all the work themselves. And they've designed the whole world in a system so that they don't have to work and other people work for them. That's what they got going on. They don't want us to die. They want to control us for sure. They don't want to get rid of all of us. Some of us, I'm sure. But they need us. There's not going to be like a nuclear war, but now it does say that in the Bible. Let me pull that up over here. You know, it does say in the Bible that there will be a fire from heaven that'll come down and will consume them. And that's in Revelation chapter 20. You know, that's the whole point of our little season community, is that people read this in their Bible and realized what it's talking about. They looked at this and said, holy mess, look at that. Look at that. It says right here in chapter 20 of Revelation, it says, blessed and holy, in verse 6, we'll pick up there. Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. They shall be priests of God and of Christ. Those people were the martyred Christians, the saints, the glorified ones, the ones who came back to life in their new resurrected bodies. All that happens right at the dawn of the tribulation. That doesn't happen in 2025. It doesn't happen in 2026. It doesn't happen in 2027 or 2030 or 2045 or any of our time. That's already happened. That particular resurrection has already happened. Blessed and holy is he that take part in the first resurrection, for death has no power over them. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. Brother Adby says, I did see a clip of Trump recently where he's claiming he's not going to heaven. Well, I'd have to say he's chosen his path. There's a weird thing about people that aren't in the know when it comes to these little divisions of control within the world. The things we know and don't know. It's really strange. But the ones of us that are so-called normal people, just everyday people, they everyday folks, they think somehow that they're going to make it to heaven by walking on both sides of the fence, on staying on both sides of the line, a little bit in, a little bit out, lukewarm. Some people know that it's better to be all evil and to be all good than to be in the middle. And people like Trump and the other elites in the world, they've all chose to be all evil, though your and my understanding of all evil and all good is really kind of fogged up. Most of us don't really know really what evil is, because we've never been told anything that's evil is evil. People don't like that word, evil. But what I'm saying is that there are people in this world that are truly evil, and yet you can be truly evil and have the illusion and appearance of being all good and being all for someone else. But all I have to say to that is, what does that say about that person? But after those martyred saints come back to life and hang out with Christ for 1,000 years, when that 1,000 years expired, Satan shall be loosed from his prison, and he says, and he shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. There are going to be nations that get deceived. There are going to be nations, whole groups of people, nations of people that get deceived into fighting this war. They're all deceived into fighting this war because they believe in a Jesus that didn't die, come back to life, and go to heaven and come back to establish his kingdom on earth. They don't believe we're past that 1,000 years. We know that we are, but they don't know that we are. And yet we understand when in time we are. How do we get them to understand that? I'm not sure that we do. Nor do we even have enough time to uneducate every living person on this earth. It says in verse 9, and they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about in the beloved city. And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. What's interesting about this, if you take out all the other books that they have in the Bible, or used to have in the Bible, you can get lost in that. What does that mean? And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about and beloved city, and fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. Well, it's simple. What does that mean for you and me? Well, all that means for you and me is that we're not supposed to be worried about all that. There's a group of people that get taken up right before all this, but they took that out of the Bible. I believe it's in 2nd Esdras. But that doesn't matter. We're the peaceable people. We're not here to fight this little war that they're going to deal with. That has nothing to do with you and me. I'm not fighting in this war, but yet there will be people that do. White Flag Revolution says, no more slavery. Each agree, see to be under sin. No more maritime laws of buying, selling, idolatry, sins of money, and contracts. Revelation chapter 21. Yeah, we got to be moving into that. We are moving into Revelation chapter 21, and we're at this point right here. This war that's coming upon us. It says, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. That's an interesting thought. What if we were already past that? What if we are at chapter 21? What does chapter 21 say? White Flag Revolution says, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. He's seeing that come down. Check this out. I don't know if y'all picked up on what White Flag is talking about. Some of y'all have, though, it looks like. I see Brother Mad Pax figured it out. Chapter 21 is talking about this right here. And when they go out to deceive the nations, for which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, together in the battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the saints about, and the beloved city. And fire came down from God out of heaven, and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Forever and ever, day and night. As long as there's a day and as long as there's a night, they will be there in their torment forever. The blessed part for you and me is verse 11, where it says, and I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, and from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, and small, great, and tall, they stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which are written in the books according to their works. That final judgment, that's what we have to look forward to. We don't have time to worry about a war, an earthly battle, a nuclear arms race, but the rest of the world does, because that's what they're headed towards. The rest of the world is headed towards that fire from heaven. And yet they believe, at least a lot of people, a lot of Christians, they seem to believe that Jesus is right around the corner and he's going to save them. They're not going to have to experience tribulation, and they're going to get to reign with him on this earth for 1,000 years. So they're trying to prepare and protect the world. They want to save it. They want to save this planet. Let's save America. Let's save Israel. Let's save Pakistan. Let's save the Jews. Let's save yous and me's and the who's. Let's save everybody. Let's save this world. Let's build a new world. Let's take over. Let's thrive in it. This new world that we're going to build. But it's going to be built around God this time. It's going to be built around Christianity, right? That's right. That is right. False prophets are false prophets for false prophets. I like that. God gave all things freely, and freely we are to give all things. Be not false prophets for false prophets. That's right. False prophets. That's right. Look at this. This young fella has 434,000 followers on this channel. He's talking about real world events, though. That's the thing that we don't talk about too much or enough in our community. We don't talk about this enough. Wherever we're trying to figure out when in time we already figured it out. You guys know about these buildings. Y'all know about the structures, the lies of the narrative lies. Yeah, it's nice and it's interesting to keep seeing it, the new stuff that you find. I'm not saying anything bad about the presentation of the little season. as far as the community at large. We're here to help each other. We're here to be a blessing to each other, not a burden. We're not here to divide and attack each other. That's what the rest of the world is doing. But if you're going to go out into that world, which was what we should be doing, we're not here to form a little cult or a little community that separates completely from the world and we don't have nothing to do with it ever. We're here to be with each other and to be here for each other for sure. But we've got to be able to function and deal with people that are in the world, that are of the world. People like Nick Fuentes, for example. We need to know what they're saying and what they're talking about because they're telling you what they're planning to do and what they're going to do. How are you going to know when to prepare and how to prepare? Well, you got to learn how to pay attention and listen. Seek the truth in all things. And yeah, he may not be a Christian. He may not be saved. He may not be a lover of Jesus the way we are. People like Nick Fuentes are telling you what their plans are as far as the right goes. Of course, if you want to listen to someone talk about their plans as far as the left goes, there are other people we could listen to for that. What their plans and what their motives, their agendas, it helps us understand what we're dealing with. But if we don't go and talk to people like Nick Fuentes, he's not going to be able to talk to his people ever about us or the little season or about what's going on with the world around him for real. All he can tell them is what he knows, and what he knows is politics, and he knows structure and laws, worldly laws, maritime law, the law of the sea, the law of the land. White Flag Revolution says we are called to put on our white garments, raise your palm branches, surrender to God, go before the elders of the military jag, and as Leos of Judah call for a general armistice decree, a truce. He's talking about being a soldier. Some of us are soldiers, some of us aren't. Every one of us has a different purpose for being here. Absolutely. Raise God's banner above your doors of home, vehicle, heart, and mind. Yahweh, Nisi, Yexi. I'm not sure about this flag or banner. I'm not down with the worldly things, but to each their own when it comes to that. Yeah, they're telling you about what's going on. But they're going to try to sow fear in everything because that's how they're guided. The people around you, they live in fear. When you go to Walmart and you're in there shopping, the people all around you, they are scared of you. They're scared of you because you represent the truth. And they don't know what the truth is. And things that people don't know scare them. That's why they're afraid of you. That's why in the little season community, when you go places, people might treat you a little different or act a little odd or avoid you. It's not because you're scary looking. It's because you walk with the truth. If you think like I do, I suppose. I mean, I don't know if that's the right way to say it. If you follow Jesus, you love the truth that Jesus presented. Not just love him, but love his message. Man, that's the important part. What Jesus was here for, his whole point. Yeah, he died and they killed him. And that was a shame and that was a terrible thing that had to happen. But the important parts are the parts where he wasn't dead or killed. It was the parts where he spoke. And he taught everybody how to listen. He taught everybody how to behave. He taught everybody how to love each other. He taught everybody how to live with each other, how to have a home without worrying about paying rent or mortgage. He taught everybody how to have a family, a life, and how to have peace and joy. And then he ruled on this earth for 1,000 years, and here we are at the precipice of the end times. You want to know what's going on and what's happening? You're going to have to listen to more people than the Rev. You're going to have to listen to people like Nick Fuentes.
When you approach the Venezuela conversation, because for 10 years, I have been opposed and vocally and adamantly opposed to our interventions in the Middle East. Regime change in Iran, regime change in Syria, the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan. I'm opposed to all that. And you start to sound like you're a libertarian, or you start to sound like you're a non-interventionist, when really I'm not.
You know what he's talking about, a libertarian, an interventionist? What he's talking about is the world powers like your Jewish leaders and your American leaders. All your American leaders, by the way, they're dual citizens. They're, all your congressmen, all 250 Congress members, I believe. I think maybe one or two of them are not, but at least 250 of them are. But your world leaders, they're all playing this real world reality game, this show. They're putting on a show. The world is a stage. And what he's talking about, the libertarian and all of that stuff, is that within the world stage, they're playing a narrative that you and I are not playing by. We know where we are. We know what's going on in the world. We know when in time we are, but they don't know that. And so they're playing off of this narrative that the Jews in Israel are God's chosen people, and that their Messiah has not come, and we believe in a false Messiah because the earth was created from a big bang. And all these other nonsense things that we get taught about and learn about. But all those people are playing this game, and they're structuring these decisions that they make, and the way that they move these chess pieces on the board, these political chess pieces. We call them nations of people, armies and soldiers. As they move them around and they move these pieces all around on the board, the world stage, they're playing this narrative that those are God's chosen people, and that any day now, Jesus Christ is going to return. And then you have the Christians that are over here supporting them because they think they're God's chosen people, because that's what they've been taught their whole life. Those are God's chosen people, pretenders, founders, people who stepped into someone else's backyard and claimed it as their own. Welcome, Brother Scott Free. Good to see you, Miss Golden Fern. Good to see you. Good to see you guys. But that's what they're talking about. And then he, of course, doesn't want to go to war. He doesn't want to fight. He's tired of all the nonsense. Why can't we just get along? I mean, well, because you don't have Jesus, for one, but they can't get along because they're all divided. Everybody's different. Everybody wants things their own way. And yet, he's right in that the way that they see him. Everything he's saying, that they're going to say he's a libertarian because he wants to be free of government. Well, yeah. Why wouldn't a grown man want to be free of other grown men governing them? Why would grown men need to be governed by other men constantly? Ultimately, you'd want to get rid of the government. Government is for those who don't have self-control. The government is for men who don't know how to behave in society, don't know how to act. That's what government is for. Yeah, we should be getting rid of the government. At least in the way it is. There's no way that it stays the way it does and things get better for you. I know that's the big delusion that a lot of people live by. They just keep praying to God and keep staying patient, and the system will get better. The cost of living will go down, and your money will get up, and you'll be able to do all the things you want to do with your life. That's what you get to do. That's a delusion. It doesn't work like that. The God we serve, if you're like me and you serve the God who sent his only begotten Son to die for us so that we should not perish but have everlasting life, if you serve that God, then you know that none of this political nonsense has anything to do with us necessarily. Because you know that these people are lost, and yet we're about to enter their field, into their territory. We're all naive in this community. Everybody in it, all the content creators and all the commenters and subscribers, everybody in the Little Caesar community is naive. We're all naive if we believe that the Little Season doesn't go mainstream. We're all naive if people don't wake up, if we don't believe that people are all going to wake up to the truth of things. I'm not saying they're going to love us, and I'm not saying they're going to love the truth when they do wake up. There's going to be so many people that hate you even more. All because you told them the truth. A lot of people don't wake up because they don't want to be woke up. That's why they don't wake up. They stay asleep. But we're naive if we don't believe that the Little Season is going to be able to stay isolated and secure, protected in its own little bubble from the rest of the world. The whole world is attacking us every day, in real life, individually, as friends, as groups, online. Don't matter. It's like y'all were talking about earlier, Josh Monday's debate, Christian debate. He wasn't even talking about the Little Season. He was just talking about Jesus in general. And you had people attacking him. Why? Because they don't believe in God, or they don't believe in right and wrong. Like, what's going on? Like, what is it? What is it? Are they atheists? Are they evil people? Good people? Bad? Like, what is the deal with these folks? Well, it's because they follow the narrative, the mainstream narrative. The mainstream narrative is whatever this dude is talking about. Nick Fuentes. It's what Tucker Carlson is talking about. It's what all of these mainstream media personalities are talking about. That's what their focus is. At least they're telling us what they're going to do. It's amazing.
And when it comes to Venezuela, I see in this case, for me, it's a little more complicated, because this is a legitimate interest of the United States. This is in our hemisphere. The entire geostrategic posture of the United States is based on the fact, or it's based on the geographic reality, that the United States is protected by natural barriers. We don't have to have the same anxieties. We don't think the same way as other countries because we don't share a border with other powerful nations, like, let's say, Russia or Germany or India or Iran. We're protected by two oceans, and there are no other countries in the North and South American continents that threaten us. And so, in order for us to remain safe, we don't really need to worry as much about what is happening on the Eurasian African continent. That's not an immediate threat or concern, because we're protected from that by the oceans. What we do have to worry about is our island. We do have to worry about is the Caribbean. We have to worry about Central America and South America, because that is what is close. That is what has a land bridge to the United States. That is in our immediate periphery. And that's why we have the Monroe Doctrine, which says that for America to be safe, it is our legitimate sphere of influence, it is our legitimate jurisdiction to govern the Americas. And we don't necessarily need to intervene in the balance of power in Europe or in Asia or in the Middle East. And there's not too much happening in Africa, but what we do need is to control our backyard.
He's talking about our political neighbors, the worldly neighbors here. As for us in America, he's talking about South America. And in South America, you have the president of Venezuela, and it's a weird situation how he became president down there. But what happened in Venezuela is that they were dying in droves down there. People were getting killed every day because of crime. There was no government. And this is the illusion of the deceptions within the deceptions of the little season. Now, just bear with me for a second. These people were living in Venezuela lawless. They had no law. They had no government. They were living, doing whatever they wanted to do and killing each other. This is the picture that politics paints for us, right? Well, what ends up happening is their president, the guy who becomes their president, takes crime to the punishment of crime, justice, to a whole nother level. And they start arresting every gang member and everybody that's out here in Venezuela doing causing harm and being a problem and a menace to society. He cleaned up Venezuela. All of their crime is gone because all of the criminals are now in jail. Well, he had to go about it a horrible way to make that happen. However, that's Venezuela. They're being governed by themselves and by that man now. I can't remember his name, nor I think it's that important to me right now, but the point is that he ended up getting them to a point where they were basically able to have normal societies where people could take their trash out and not worry about their daughter getting kidnapped for playing in the front yard. They've moved beyond the dealings of crime. It's pretty safe in Venezuela, and people are kind of glad to be there. But the thing is, they adhere to the rules of their system, the rules of their government. That's what they adhere to. Doesn't matter that they love Jesus. They're mostly Catholic down there. It's like this guy, I'm sure, Nick Fuentes, is Catholic. They're all Catholic down there in Venezuela. And they love Jesus, no doubt. But they love the system that they're governed by. That's why they live in the way they do. They tell you this stuff, and we see this stuff on the news, and we watch people like this talk about this stuff, and don't even understand how it has an effect on us. Like, what does this have to do with us? Well, it has everything to do with us, because these are all that is priming you and me to accept the way things are in other places. It's also a way to keep the world divided. And the world is divided because of things like I just mentioned. Didn't I just say they were Catholic? Nick Fuentes, he's Mexican, just like me. We're Mexicans. We're Mexicans. I think my camera is off. Let me see. Let me fix this. What is going on with my camera? Oh. All right. I'm back. I don't know what's going on with these technical difficulties. But it's an interesting thing. It matters what's going on, what he's talking about. The Trump administration threatens regime change in Venezuela. Basically, what that's doing is it's a playbook. It's revelations is what this is what he's talking about is already happened in the past, realistically. Except it's now happening again, and it's happening again because they're taking it out of it's the world is a stage, and they're playing out this revelation thing. And what I'm gonna explain when I explain it, it'll make sense to you. Consider this. In Revelation, you have the Antichrist. The Antichrist comes into power and then gives power over to the beast, which controls everything. Well, in Venezuela, you have a lost people that ends up getting saved by an Antichrist who gets rid of all the crime. And here we have Trump, the administration threatening to a regime change down in Venezuela. And when Trump in the American administration gets down there, he's going to give his power over to the beast, or to the beast system. It's a playbook, is what it is. It's a map. It's a script that's going on, and all he's going off of is a script. It's the false narrative that these people are going to be saved down there. We're going to save them. Trump's going to save them. Trump's going to get down there and save them and whatnot. But he's done the work. He got them safe down there in Venezuela, and now they're gonna try to pass that over to the system, the beast system, the one that we all live in. It's a playbook. It's a strategy taken straight out of Revelation. It's how these people who call themselves prophets, so to speak, these false prophets, these people who like to tell the future and act like they know a thing or two about what's going to happen to you and me. How do they always seem to know what's going to happen next? Like, how do they seem to be right? Well, it's because they're paying attention to politics. They're paying attention to what they're saying and what they're doing. They're paying attention to the world's schemes. But they also are applying that to Scripture and taking that out of that. This is all a playbook. This is all a strategy taken out of a playbook. That's all this is. But that's what's going on. That's what he's talking about when it comes to Venezuela. They're going to end up having to pass over their way of governance to the beast system. Right now, America is the authority of that beast system, though we don't seem to realize that.
That is the traditional American point of view. And when it comes to Venezuela, you have a socialist regime which is aligned against the United States, ideologically aligned against the United States ever since the Bolivarian Revolution. And what's more, Venezuela is aligned with our strategic competitors, Russia and China. So, for me, this is a legitimate national security concern and a strategic concern for the United States in a way that Iran or Hamas or Hezbollah or Libya or Syria or Ukraine, even for that matter, is not, because it's right there and it's in our legitimate sphere of influence. It's on our island. You know, rightfully, if you're thinking of these things in the right way, North and South America are basically like a giant island. So it's part of us. And so that's why I'm a little bit more in favor of intervention in Venezuela than in other countries. With that being said, I don't necessarily support any kind of intervention or any kind of way to go about this. And this kind of brings us to the current conversation. The Trump administration has been effectively at war with Venezuela for 5 or 6 years. And by that I mean, if you recall, in Trump's first term, he brought in John Bolton as his national security advisor. And under the John Bolton Trump administration, we instituted a maximum pressure campaign against the Maduro regime in Venezuela. And we were effectively trying to force regime change. You might remember the name of the opposition leader, Juan Guaido. We tried to make him the president. We ratcheted up the sanctions, enforced them, enforce the sanctions on their oil. And you might recall during those years, this is when Venezuela experienced a currency crisis, hyperinflation, massive protests, mass starvation. This was by design. You might remember that because this was under the Trump administration policy of basically trying to strangle Venezuela such that it would collapse from within. And a U.S.-backed opposition leader would come to power, and they would realign Caracas to Washington, away from China and Russia.
See, this is the problem with the world, I feel like. He's saying everything I just told you guys, what I was explaining about Venezuela and how the Trump administration, the beast, is going to go down there and it's going to take over. What he's telling you and describing to you right now is the script, it's the playbook. It's like it's the step by step of what's going to happen. Like, this is going to happen. Like, we do get involved, but he is right about how we're like a little bitty island over here in America, in the Americas. North and South America combined could fit inside of Europe, I believe. Like, it's, or not in Europe, but inside of Africa. Both North and South America could both fit inside of the whole of Africa. I mean, like a few times even. Like, America's, we are like a little island. You know, they used to call America Turtle Island. Is what they used to call it. It's Turtle Island. And let's see. Let's pause that. All right. But yeah, they used to call this Turtle Island because it was like a little island, America. But Turtle Island was also a name that stemmed from the origin of us. Or at least in the Hispanic community, in the natives, in the Native American communities, they understand that the turtle was where they come from, so to speak. It's part of that little belief, if you know anything about that. That's a whole different subject, and I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole. I just, it's interesting though. The little turtle, it's like a turtle. America. Turtle Island. But he's right. And we don't need to be really getting involved with Venezuela. Let them be. Let them be how they want to be. As long as they're a peaceable people. As long as they're a peaceable people. It doesn't really matter what they believe. But they seem to be a peaceable people. And yeah, they have strict rules down there. Don't go down there F around or you will find out. It ought to be like that here in America. We ought to be a little bit more strict on each other with things, but the problem is we have too much freedom. You know, we have way too much freedom. So much freedom that people want to be able to be free to do awful things and terrible things. They want to be able to be free to lie. They want to be free, be able to be free to do whatever they want to do, you know. Doing what we want ain't always what's best. It's like, if I'm being real honest, I didn't want to go live today. I would much rather be doing something else. I'm overworked and overloaded with things I have to do in real life. But I didn't want to do this, yet I'm here doing what I feel and being led and called to do. What I want doesn't matter though. But what he wants matters. And what the rest of the world wants matters, at least to them. It matters. It matters because it's how they live. It's how they live in peace. By being governed by other men who tell them what to do and how to behave. We're in the Little Season community. We don't need this. We don't need other men telling us how to behave. We don't need other men governing us, yet some people do. And the reason they do is because they don't have God in their heart. He's not number one. Jesus isn't the one that's leading them. It's God. It's not God. It's their own beliefs, their own delusions. That's what's going on. Godfrey says, nothing like a live with a beautiful host and beautiful family to brighten the day. Hallelujah. Thank you for being obedient, Rev, and loving us like you do. Absolutely. Amen to that. Welcome, Miss Trish Clark. Welcome. She says, hit the like button for everyone so other people know. And Miss Chai Rose Sounds, welcome. Blessings. Good to see you guys. Good to see you. Like I was saying, we ought not be. I agree with him. We ought not be messing with Venezuela. If I'm American, I'm up here in America. I need to leave other countries alone. But this is also where all this worldly governance comes from, because if you leave some people in some countries alone too much, if you leave them alone too much, they'll end up doing bad things to you and me. They'll end up hurting everyone around them. Some people enjoy the suffering of others. You know, they love being able to condemn others and call each other out, and they love being the way they are. It's strange. Doesn't have to be that way. It can be better.
That was a Bolton, Pompeo, Trump policy. And what actually happened, here was the beautiful part, because we tried to strangle this country with sanctions. Their country runs on revenue from oil, and we went after their oil. As a consequence, their currency collapsed. The people started to starve. There was tremendous political disorder in Venezuela. And what typically happens when you see something like that is a exodus of refugees. So why do you think there were 10 million illegal immigrants under the Biden administration? Well, one among many reasons is that we tried to collapse Venezuela and millions of people left the country. Millions of criminals and drug smugglers and ordinary people too fled Venezuela into the United States because we destabilized their nation. And that's how they wound up in Chicago and Houston, Texas, and New York and LA, causing all kinds of problems.
Now, how did we destabilize them, right? So, as an American or in the West, what is he talking about? How did we destabilize them? Wasn't it the drugs and the cartel and all the gangsters, the criminal activity? Wasn't that what destabilized them? The reason he's saying we destabilize them is because he's including things that you and I aren't thinking about as normal people. He's thinking about the CIA. He's thinking about the Fed. He's thinking about how political members within the governments and the governing institutions of our Western society, those people have funded all that criminal activity. They're the ones who are funding all the drugs being smuggled into America. They're the ones funding all of the human trafficking that's going on between North and South America. It's the government that's funding all of that. Yet they're also funding the same organizations that are set up and designed to shut all that down. The same government. It's working both sides of it is what it's doing. And that's what he's explaining, and that's what he's talking about. And I know that, like, for the ones who don't follow politics, because we're Jesus believers, we love Christ, we don't know what the heck he's talking about, so we don't even follow him. So we're not even listening. But Dave, that's fine. You don't have to listen to him. Don't have to follow him. I'll do that. I'll listen to him, and I'll follow him so that I can keep up with what he's saying, because he's telling you the things that I'm telling you. It's in a different way. Nick Fuentes is saying the same thing I'm telling you. He's explaining it different, but he's explaining it in a way that the rest of the world understands where he's coming from, because the rest of the world is also just as equally educated as he is, if not more or less, in some small degree. But that's what he's talking about. You and me, yeah, we didn't have anything to do with that, you know. You and me, we didn't cause this. We didn't create the drug trafficking problem and the human trafficking problem. We didn't create that. You and me, as normal, everyday Americans, we didn't have anything to do with that. And yet, we're being held to a standard as if we did. I didn't create those problems. So when he's saying we, he's not talking about you and me. He's talking about the government. But people like Nick Fuentes and your Tucker Carlsons and all those, as I've said before, those type of individuals, they see themselves as part of that government.
And they're not great immigrants either. On average, they have a very low IQ in Venezuela, high Indio admixture. There's a lot of organized crime in Venezuela. They're kidnappers, drug smugglers. Like, these are not great people.
Okay, so I want to make this clear. For anyone who's listening to this channel or watching me that may be in Venezuela or down in South America, Nick Fuentes does not speak for me or this community. However, what he's talking about, IQs and intelligences and stuff, he's not saying the same thing you're thinking. Most of us, what most people are hearing is, oh, they're dumb. And yeah, it's kind of what he's saying, but the reason he's saying that is because he's referring to their education levels, like your intellect, like how smart you would be in school. How many people from South America and Venezuela, kids, are going to come up to an American school and be successful at an American school? You know, what's the likelihood of that happening? I mean, yeah, it can. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm saying that it's harder. And so what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that's what he's talking about, in that they're not as smart. But the reality is that has nothing to do with how smart they are. What they know and don't know has nothing to do with how smart someone is. Down in Venezuela and South America, those are our neighbors. They're just as capable and smart as any other group of people in any other part of the world. The difference is what they know is built around what they believe, and what they believe is worldly. It's not necessarily true, the things that they believe. Not about themselves, not about their history, not about their purpose. The same is true for all of the world, though. It doesn't matter if it's Venezuela or India or Australia or Mississippi in America. You could be anywhere in the world and you're going to be deceived into thinking this or thinking that about the area you're around, until you wake up and you can see it for what it is. And yeah, I think we do in this community. I think we do see it for what it is. I keep looking up there because that's where I'm used to my other camera being.
And so the consequences of our extremely aggressive backdoor regime change, maximum pressure policy was the refugee crisis, which has metastasized into this illegal immigrant occupation, which we're now trying to reverse. We gave those people temporary protected status. So now Trump is back in power, and he has effectively resumed the same policy. I'm sure you've seen, it's been reported all over, that the United States is building up its force posture off the coast of Venezuela, deploying U.S. Navy destroyers, submarines, Air Force assets, reconnaissance in the islands surrounding Venezuela, on the coast of Venezuela. And we've been bombing what the administration is claiming are small drug smuggling vessels manned by crews of 5 to 12 people. I think there's been at least 3 high-profile instances where these boats have been destroyed and the crew murdered by the United States. And as this campaign goes on of both maximum pressure and military escalation, it seems now that both the United States and Venezuela are anticipating an imminent regime change war. In recent days, Venezuela is putting shipping containers and heavy machinery blocking major access roads into Venezuela. They're taking control over air defense at their airports. And the United States has been signaling that they might begin operations on Venezuelan soil, meaning that they will be launching airstrikes or missile strikes from naval vessels against what they say are drug smuggling operations inside Venezuela on their actual territory. And everybody could see where this is headed. And where this is headed is a decapitation. Earlier this year, the Trump administration put a $50 million bounty on the head of Nicolas Maduro, which incentivizes traitors inside of his government. If they want to sell out, they anticipate the regime is crumbling, they can collaborate with the United States and get Maduro assassinated, get him arrested, capture him, overthrow his government, something like that. So this is we're revisiting this maximum pressure campaign on Venezuela. Now, it's in this context, on the cusp of another war, that there's some reporting from the New York Times, and this is disputed, but there is a piece out in the New York Times today which says that the Maduro regime in Venezuela actually offered the United States a deal. So why are we doing all of this? It is because the Venezuelan regime is socialist. They're ideologically third worldist, socialist. They're against Washington. They're against the West. They're aligned with China, Russia, and Iran. They get Russian defense equipment. They have Chinese investment. They collaborate with the Iranian military. This is all very worrying for the United States. And this is why we want to overthrow that regime, and we want Venezuela to buy American military equipment. We want Venezuela to have American investment. We want their oil. We want their gold. We want their stuff. We don't want them to be used as a base of operations to undermine U.S. influence in the Caribbean and in South America. Well, the Maduro regime offered the United States a deal. And I haven't seen this reported anywhere else. I don't see it being talked about a lot, but apparently Rick Grenell, who is in the Trump administration, he's one of the envoys, is in talks with the Maduro regime, some of the high-ranking personnel, that Venezuela is going to stop collaborating with Russia, China, and Iran. They're going to give us their oil and gold revenue. They're going to give us the revenue from future oil and gold projects, and basically they're going to give up. They're waving the white flag. And the catch is that the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has vetoed this. They offered us a deal. They said, you can have all the oil, all the gold. They have the largest proven oil reserves in the world, massive amounts of gold. They're giving it all away. They said, we give up. We want to join the United States because Maduro doesn't want to die. He knows that's going to be a one-sided conflict. He knows the jig is up. They said, we'll give you all of our natural resource wealth, and we will strategically align with you. Just don't go to war. Rubio vetoes the deal and says, not good enough. Maduro has to go. And this is a story. It says, quote, Venezuelan officials hoping to end their country's clash with the United States offered the Trump administration a dominant stake in Venezuela's oil and other mineral wealth in discussions that lasted for months, according to multiple people close to the talks. Under a deal discussed between a senior U.S. official and Mr. Maduro's top aides, the Venezuelan strongman offered to open up all existing and future oil and gold projects to American companies, give preferential contracts to American business, reverse the flow of Venezuelan oil exports from China to the United States, and slash his country's energy and mining contracts with Chinese, Iranian, and Russian firms. Okay. Well, isn't that what we want? Isn't that everything that we want and more? It sounds too good to be true, but if you can secure this, is that not what we want in Venezuela? Is their gold, their oil, their minerals, stop their collaboration and cooperation with our adversaries and align with the United States? What's wrong with this? It says the Trump administration ended up rebuffing the economic concessions and cut off diplomacy with Venezuela last week. The move killed the deal, at least for now, according to people close to the discussion. Though the United States has been targeting what it calls drug boats, the cutoff of diplomacy, the military buildup near Venezuela, and the increasingly strident threats against Maduro by Trump administration officials have led many in both countries to think that the real objective is Mr. Maduro's removal. Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, has been the leading voice in the administration's push to oust Maduro. He has called him an illegitimate leader who is a fugitive from American justice and has been skeptical of the diplomatic approach conducted by Special Envoy Richard Grenell. Okay, who cares? Who cares? It's like he's giving us gold, oil, minerals, contracts, money. He's just gonna give it all up. And we're like, no, not good enough, because you're a bad guy. You're a bad hombre. You're an illegitimate leader. Who gives a fuck? Who cares? Take the money.
Yeah, who cares? Give. Yeah, who cares? It gives an F, right? I love throwing them F-bombs around. That's not the only bad thing. It's just one of the bad things about worldly presenters. Is worldly presenters. But he's right though. What good what good and what benefit is it to us as a nation up here in America to get involved with them down there in Venezuela? I mean, what's the perk? You know, what do we get out of it? What do they get out of it? How does our influence over there, down there, how's that better for them? How's that better for us? Well, they're not far from us. And it's silly to believe that we're isolated in America, though it would be difficult. It would be very difficult, though, taking over America or coming into America, like he was talking about, Africa, Asia, that area. Getting to America would be very difficult. That is for sure. That is definitely for sure. But that's also why they're moving to the north. And a lot of people don't know this about what's going on in the world right now, but one of the reasons why this administration is trying to push soldiers and stuff up towards the north is because I believe the bridge is either frozen again or it's unfrozen or it just unfroze, and but whatever, the little landmass between America and Russia, even if you were in a rowboat, would only take you an hour to row across it. It's not hard to walk across from Africa to America when it comes to that, as long as it's frozen, which I think it's not frozen anymore, but I think that bridge is going to freeze again here soon. And when it freezes again, it's going to open up, another way for them to bring people in. But all I'm trying to tell you is that all the lands are connected. They're not disconnected, so to speak, not too much. America's in North America, South America. We're still connected to the other side of the world, and there are ways for people to get to us. But to do it the way you would imagine it in a movie, where all the countries invade America, that's not going to happen. I mean, that would never happen. I mean, they'll talk about it and they'll threaten it and they'll have people scared about it. But they've been telling that threat and story for 100 years now. It's never going to happen. Yet, the destruction of America comes from within. It has nothing to do with our involvement in Venezuela. It has nothing to do with our involvement with Israel. It has nothing to do with which all that kind of has something to do with it. It's just, I'm just saying that at the end of the day, we create our own doom. We're victims of our own destruction. Like we do it to ourselves.
It says, while Mr. Grenell and Venezuelan officials made progress on economic issues, they failed to agree on Maduro's political future. Grenell and Maduro's envoys negotiated a deal. During this time, the leader of Venezuela's main opposition movement, Maria Corina Machado, pitched her own economic proposal. She argued that even greater economic wealth, up to $1.7 trillion in 15 years, awaited U.S. companies in Venezuela if her movement launched a political transition, meaning regime change. Okay, so why? But why? And here's why I started the conversation by talking about non-intervention, war, regime change. What I like about Trump is he recognizes that the power of the American military frequently comes from not even actually using it. It is the deterrent power of the military. War only becomes inevitable when both sides think they can test the willingness or the ability of the other side to enforce their will, basically. In other words, Venezuela knows they would lose a war. They don't want to find that out the hard way. They know that already. They know that if the United States really wanted to, that we could come in, kill their leaders, take their stuff, and it's over, and they could not resist at all. It's a small country. It's like 30 million people. They're poor. They don't have a big military. The government is so corrupt. The people are against the regime or ambivalent. So they're not going to put up resistance. And these leaders, they don't want to die, and they don't want to be martyrs. For what? They're criminals. They're crooks. And so the power of the U.S. military is that you just have it. It has a weight by itself. And the only time a country is going to test the U.S. military is if they think that they can either overcome the U.S. military in terms of force, that they'll be able to destroy more equipment or kill more personnel or strategically or tactically defeat the U.S. military like a China or Russia, or they're testing the U.S. willingness to use the military. Like, let's say, Iran, for example, or some other country. They know they would lose if the United States went to war, but they doubt that the United States is willing to do it. So the U.S. military has deterrent power. Trump understands that, and that is a good foreign policy. Throwing our weight around, using the weight and the might of the military without actually using the guns, without actually shooting, to get U.S. interests, to secure concessions and benefits for Americans. And this is a very tangible one. Venezuela has gold and oil, and they don't efficiently extract either of them. Because of the sanctions, the corruption, their government is inefficient. They're under attack from the West. The people are demoralized. If the United States came in and managed these resources, it would make us richer. We would have more of them. We would have a greater share of them, and Venezuela would extract more of them. Those are tangible benefits. That's more energy for the United States, which we badly need. It's more gold for the United States, which is good. Whatever other minerals they have at their disposal. And it's another country that's aligned with the United States, another country we don't have to worry about.
You know, I wonder if people ever even wonder. Do they ever even wonder what is it? What is it about all this stuff that they want? Why is that gold so necessary? Why are those resources? Like, what's the deal? Like, what's the point and purpose of wanting to have control over all this stuff? All these worldly things, all these worldly riches. Like, why is that so important to everyone? Well, in the world it is. It's very important. They want this gold, and they want access to the governing of Venezuela because they don't want it to just be poor, but they want it poor and functioning, kind of like us in America, where we're poor, but yet we have this illusion that we're not poor because we can pay our bills, yet we spend hours, like the majority of our life, working for someone else and staying away from home. Being away from home, we spend days and days and months and years and decades of our life separated from doing the things that truly make us happy. But our governors and our world leaders, they want that gold. They want all that power. They want all that control, so they can go down there and call themselves heroes and say that they saved the day. They freed the Venezuelan people from poverty and the strains of the world and surviving in it, instead of helping them for real. That's what this is all about. I know you guys don't know what this show that I'm doing right here is supposed to be about or what my purpose is for it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you guys to a little bit more to what's going on in the world with other people that aren't necessarily within our community. I believe that it is wise to seek the truth in all things. I believe it's wise to pay attention and to listen to others, even though we disagree with them and don't necessarily even like them. It's important and it's wise to focus and look at the things that the world around us is doing and what they're saying. It's like it would be unwise to sit here in your house on your front porch every day watching your neighbor build a tower across the yard so he could put a cannon and direct it right to you. I mean, it'd be silly to just sit there and let that happen. But the problem is that within our community, within the Little Season group, and and within the realms of Christianity, people ignore politics. They ignore what's going on in the rest of the world when it comes to how things are run and how things are governed. But it's our participation in it ultimately is what allows all these worldly things to go forward and move on and carry on the way they are. Our participation in it being in the jobs and the career fields that we have. Let's see, this thing is not working. There we go. The careers, paths, the jobs, and the spending, all the things we do every day that keep this system afloat. We participate in it without even realizing it. And yet we don't have to, we don't have to participate in it. There are ways to be in the world without having to worry about all the nuances of politics and all the world around us. But as long as we're out here by ourselves, we're naive and ignorant and silly to not listen to people like this. Brother Scott Free says, I agree, Rev. In my opinion, it helps us to have a good litmus of where others are and how to reach them. That's right. Whether I like it or you like it, whether it's the Rev or Ricardo from Contending for the Faith, it doesn't matter. It could be JT or Paul. Or it could be someone random that you ain't never even heard of. Somebody that the government planted and put there. But whether you like it or whether I like it or not, there's no scenario where the Little Season just gets to carry on in its own little bubble, free from attacks from the rest of the world. The rest of the world is going to attack this community, and it's doing it already, and it's doing it from within, the same as what we're just got through listening to and witnessing with Mr. Nick Fuentes. America can't really be destroyed by outside forces. It can only be destroyed from within. And we that live within the walls of America live bound to the rules of the system that we subscribe to, our way of governance. We pay our taxes and obey these laws and do the things we're supposed to do so that we don't have to suffer, so that we can have peace and security. Well, when they start talking about peace and security, run the other way. Because the minute they start talking about peace and security, they're talking about slavery. They're talking about control. That's what they're talking about. I think our community needs to be more vigilant, needs to be more aware of who the real enemies are. It's not each other. We're not enemies. As Americans, we're not enemies with Venezuela. We're not enemies with South America. We're not enemies with Mexico. As Americans, we're not enemies with anyone. We're not supposed to be. But what does it mean to be an American today? It's 2025 and everybody's confused. Men don't know if they're men, and women don't know if they're women, and some people don't even know if they're American or not. What does that even mean? Why is it important that you are, if you are an American? Well, it's important because it's who you are. It's where you come from. And despite the false narratives of history and historical rhetorics that we've heard throughout the ages, a lot of men struggled to allow the world to be what it is today, to allow you to be here in the way that you are, for you to have your comfort, for you to have your business, for you to have your life the way you wanted it to be. The whole world is going in a different direction than any of us in the Little Season community. But rest assured that they will do everything they can to divide us and separate us, and they'll do it from within. They're not going to do it from the outside. Like I said, when the great war of Gog and Magog comes together of all the nations, when they surround the camp of the saints, that has nothing to do with you and me. We're a peaceable people that are separated from that. But we don't have to be a small, peaceable people. We can be a large group, a large, peaceable people. But the only way to get that understanding through to people is to help them understand that where they're at in time, how to understand who Jesus is, and how to understand what it means to actually love your neighbor, and what they're supposed to be admiring and not admiring, loving and not loving. How do we get these people to understand that? Well, whether we like it or not, the Little Season gets pulled into the rest of the world's views and topics and conversations. We can either get in front of it or we can stay behind it. But whatever it turns out to be, we need to always do the right thing and be a light in the darkness. We need to be a light in this community. We don't need to be a burden on others. We don't need to be a punishment on others. We need to be a blessing to others. And when we are blessings to others, they will notice that and they will see that. It's not up to Scott Free or Trish Clark or Jesus is Lord or Chris T or Dojo or Mad Pax or anybody like that to save the world. It's not up to the Rev or JT or Paul or Ricardo or Madeline or any of them to save the world. All we are voices in it. Well, right now, most of our voices are divided and separated. What the Little Season is supposed to do and what it will do is it'll bring all these voices together. And when we bring all these voices together, then we can have that true peace. Will that happen before the end comes? Who knows? I don't know. But I do know that it's going to happen soon, that it does happen, and it's going to happen soon. And I'm not trying to sound like the same old people that have been talking about the end for the last 100, 200 years. The end I'm talking about is the end of all things. But it's not a real end. Because for you and me in the Little Season community and those who end up passing through the white throne of judgment, there is no end. We have an eternity. We have a perfect and wonderful and beautiful, long-lasting eternity with our Maker, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, God above us. He dwells above us until it's time for Him to come and take us back and take us home with Him. That's what we're here for. We're here to serve our God, to serve Jesus Christ. to be vessels unto the Spirit of the Lord, so that when people see us, they see Christ and they cower. They turn away because they can't stand to face you face to face, because you are of the Lord and they know it. They know the Lord is in you. They see it. They hear it. Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, they all talk to millions of people, right? But they're not talking to the whole world. And they're not talking to just you and me. But together they are. All of them combined, they speak to everyone. And whether we like it or not, they're going to end up speaking to us. And it's not going to just be the Rev that you see talking to the little season people. It'll be other big players. The big players in this world game are gonna bring this to their. It's gonna come to their attention, and they will bring this out, and it will enter the world stage. The only way to get everybody to unify in belief is to have everybody believe and know and understand the same thing. And what better way to do it than to tell the whole world that we're in the little season and everything's a lie? And now you can get everybody to distrust the government, reformat the government in a way that they do trust it, and now everybody is on board with the little season, but they're also on board with surrounding the camp of the saints. They're going to co-opt the little season. They're going to take the little season away from us if they can. When I say the little season, I'm not talking about the little season. I'm simply talking about the understanding of truth and the desire for truth. They're going to do everything they can to take that from us. They're going to take it away. You can't have it. Get rid of it. But they're going to do it in a way that it looks like it's coming from us. And we're going to hand it to them. At least they expect us to just hand this power over to them, to just hand this over to them. But it does happen. We do enter their realm, whether we want to be in there or not. Now we represent ourselves is what's important. Like Brother Ryan, Jesus is Lord 70 AD, talking about Brother Josh Monday and how he was having to deal with all of that nonsense over there. But he's representing the truth. Jesus is Lord 70 AD represents the truth when he does that, when he gets involved and engages those people. Miss Trish Clark and Scott Free and Miss Kim M. Miss Rachel Matthews. Everybody ends up playing their own part. But how we play our part is a representation of the Christ that died for us. And I only want to represent him well. And I want to represent him in the best way I can. I can't help it if I get upset for others. I mean, I don't want the people I care about or people I'm around to suffer or struggle. But yet they are, and they will. How do we stop that? Well, we have to learn how to walk like Christ. And the only way to learn how to walk like Christ is to read about him, seek him out, and discover the truth for yourself. This camera is just not having it today. This camera is not having it. What's going on with this thing? Let's see if I can fix this one more time. Oh, it is working fine. Okay. It's working fine. But it's not working fine because it's not doing what I want it to do. We're here to be lights in the darkness. We're not here to save the world. We're here to guide them to their Savior, which is the Christ that died for our sins, died so that we could be saved, died so that we don't have to struggle, That's what we're supposed to be. Lights into the world. But how do you deal with the world if you don't know what the world is about and what the world is up to? If you don't know what the world is planning or what they're thinking or what they're trying to do, how can you properly engage in them? And that's one thing I don't see in this community as far as content creators go. I don't see a lot of them really just kind of going over the meat of what the world is talking about as far as what's happening and what's going on and what does that have to do with us in the little season community. There are some content creators that share some really good stuff, but the problem is the little season is an understanding that doesn't take all your whole life to dwell on it. At some point it moves forward, and it moves forward with you or without you. The goal is to have it move forward with us, not without us, or for us to move with it, move forward with it, not it move forward without us. And I say it, I'm talking about Christ, the truth, the word, and the way. The way is forward, not backwards, but we kind of have to go back in time in our mind sometimes in order to walk forward properly. That's why it's important that we do these Bible studies. It's why it's important that we talk about the truth. It's why it's important that we have fellowship, communicate with one another. A media fast is beneficial to all of us, that's for sure. I've been on one for a good minute. I haven't been watching a lot of people. There's a lot going on in this community. I'm just hearing about it that I have no idea. I had no idea. But I don't have no beef with anybody. I don't have no problem with anyone. I love everybody. I don't have no issues with anyone, and yet some people have issues with me, I guess. I know they're not going to fight. You know, at the end of the day, that door is never going to have someone knock on it talking about come out here. So I really ain't worried about any beef anyone has. If they got beef, oh well. I'm not worried about the beef. What I'm worried about is you and me, and how are we going to live and survive in this world? How are we going to maintain ourselves without hurting ourselves? How are we going to prosper and be successful? I want what's best for you, not what's best for me. Because if I give you what's best, you'll give me what's best, and I'll have what's best, and I don't have to even worry about me. I can just worry about you, and everything will work out for me. That's how we're supposed to be in the world. A blessing to our neighbors, not a burden. If you're a blessing, what does that say about you? And if you're a burden, what does that say about you? Look, you guys are a really good audience. You are the best audience, an amazing group of people, and I've enjoyed having you guys here. Miss Kim M says, went on a media fast with friends and none of us ever went back. You know, headlines, you know, you can't avoid hearing from those people for real people, from those for real people. But when you shut off the noise for 40 days, he is with you. That's absolutely true. He is. God is with us. But he is definitely with us whenever we filter out all the noise. I'm going to show you more content like this in the upcoming episodes in the next few series, next few episodes of this series that we're doing here. I'm going to present to you more content kind of like this today, where we went over Nick Fuentes' stuff. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I've noticed when people comment on stuff like this, their comments are grounded in worldly views no different than the one they're watching. Well, my values are not grounded in worldly values or worldly views. And so my commentary on this stuff is not going to be the same kind of commentary that you would see at any other content creator doing commentary on political figures and news and world events. The commentary that I'm planning on doing is in the lens of the little season, as you guys can tell. This is news for us. This is the kind of news that we can benefit from as a group and as a society, as a people. It's not the kind of news that hurts us, or that is going to hurt us. That's not bad. That's not good for us. It's the kind of news that is going to be good for us. So whenever you guys see me live again, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, because we're not giving up on Truth Unfiltered. We're not giving up on the truth, and we're not giving up on you, and we're not giving up on our Lord and Savior. Christ is King. You guys are the best audience in the world. Love each and every one of you. If you guys want to stick around, by all means, hit that replay button. Otherwise, we will be back later tonight for some more. And that being said, love you guys. Take care. We'll talk to you later.
Truth rises through the noise. They can't silence the faithful voice. Stand your ground. Stand true.
The lights are fading, but the truth still glows in the heart of the storm where the wild wind blows. They try to twist the story, rewrite the page, but the fire of the faithful can't be caged. Can't be caged. Can't be changed. This is the sound of truth unchained. Faith through the fire, still unashamed. We stand our ground, we hold the line with hearts of steel and hands divine. The Rev Unfiltered, the flame won't die. We speak His name, we testify. To bow, they told us to blend, but we were never made to follow the world's wind. The truth don't bend for man's applause. It stands on the word, it stands on God. Say we're foolish, that our hope is blind, but the wisdom of heaven rewrites the mind. We've walked through flames, we've fought through lies. Still we're standing, still we rise. Still we rise. Still we rise. This is the sound of truth unchained. But our hearts burn with faith. This isn't a show, it's a stand. No filter, no fear, only faith. Truth unchained, faith through the fire, still unashamed. We stand our ground, we hold the line with hearts of steel and hands divine. The Rev Unfiltered, the light won't fade. We're children of the truth He made. The world burns
tongues with lies, but our hearts burn with faith. This isn't a show, it's a stand. No filter, no fear, only faith. Truth.
Through the fire.
Forever his name.